Hi, my name is Lauren Spagnolo, and welcome to Empowered. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to have a dear friend. I consider you a dear friend, registered Shiatsu therapist, Mihael Mamychshvili. Almost got it right. Yeah. Thank you for being my guest today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to be talking about the mind-body connection and probably get into some chronic pain and learn about what you do.
Thank you.
So tell me what led you onto your path of being a Shiatsu therapist.
Well, my own pain.
Your own pain?
Yes.
Okay.
I experienced chronic pain in my early 20s, and really that's when it started. I tried all kinds of different treatments, from physiotherapy, chiropractic, going to the doctors, the specialists, the tests, and nothing really helped. And
what sort of chronic pain were you
it's
experiencing?
lower back pain that occurred in a work environment. And to make a long story short, once all the physical treatments really didn't help, I started to look for other avenues, and I discovered meditation. And meditation really changed my life, because meditation allowed me the time and the ability and the tools to give me the insight that I needed in order to understand what are the roots of my pain. And once I understood the roots of my pain, which were not just physical, then I went and I got the right help. And I went to a psychotherapist who really helped me and liberated me and helped me understand really my pain. And once I went through all that healing, I gave myself permission to celebrate and to go on an adventure. And I decided to go to the Far East. I went to India and Thailand for about 2.5 months. And after I came back from that trip, I really understood that purpose was really my driving force. And when I discovered that my purpose was really to help people, and then it was just a matter of how do I do it? And through a process of elimination, I went through all the vocations that pertain to therapy, and I wanted to do something with my hands because I always felt comfortable with touch. And I looked at all the modalities, and massage kept on popping up. And out of all of them, what really resonated was Shiatsu. And why? It goes back to a little event that I had 6 months prior in India after climbing one of the Himalayan mountains. My back pain that I had came back from that 2-day climb. And I was in severe pain. But I thought I was lucky because where I was, the Dalai Lama lived around there and all the Tibetan monks, and I thought, I'm in the right town. I'm going to find some monk or some therapist to really help me with my pain. And I went to the city square, and there was a big, long bulletin board and all kinds of classes and posters. And one really stood out, and it was called Shiatsu. I didn't know nothing about it. But what intrigued me was a treasure map on the poster. And I just came down from the Himalayas, and I thought, Himalayas, a treasure map, it kind of fits, and I decided to pick it and follow the instructions to find this person that did this therapy that I knew nothing about. And after about 20 minutes of walking, I knocked on this door, and this little fellow came out, and he looked at me up and down, and he just started laughing, and he made me laugh. And he stopped all of a sudden, and he said, I know exactly where you're from. And I said to him, nobody knows exactly where I'm from. Many people try, but nobody knows. He goes, you were born in Central Asia, and you lived in Israel, and you come from Canada. And my jaw dropped, and I said, how did you know? And he goes, a Shiatsu master knows everything about you in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So I said, I want to get a treatment. And I said, not today. Come back tomorrow, and I'll treat your pain. So tomorrow came. I never went. Don't ask me why. I think I was just lazy. And the next day I had to leave that town, and I totally forgot about it. 6 months later, discovering my purpose was to help people because of my pain journey. And I looked at the different massage schools, and then I came across the Shiatsu program that Langara College just came out. And it triggered the memory of that incident. And I had a very strong visceral reaction. And I remember just picking up the phone, and I signed up over the phone. And that was the beginning of my path.
And why? I'm astounded by the fact that, as you saw my draw, the fact that you didn't take up this gentleman's offer to you.
It's a good question, and I think, like a lot of people with pain, even when the opportunity presents itself, now being a therapist, going 16 years ahead, when the opportunity sometimes presents itself, it's just in front of you. For some reason, we hesitate. We don't take it.
Right.
And I think that's what happened.
Right. So going back to what the gentleman said to you about a Shiatsu therapist knowing everything about you in 5 minutes, like, I want to meet this man, but anyway, but what have you learned? What's your understanding of someone that comes in for a treatment, of the human being when they walk in that door?
Shiatsu gives you the tools and the platform to really try to understand the pain and the condition that the patient presents with all your senses.
Right.
So with your eyes, even smell can give us information. The way we touch, the subtleties in the body,
right.
And even exercising your intuition in the treatment, your analytical mind, your empathy. And so it really gives us that platform to exercise all our senses to understand the disease, to understand the sickness, the pain, and to understand the human condition and how it's transpiring in the body, how it's telling a story in the body. So a really good Shiatsu therapist is a really good translator.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
I like what you say on your website. You've got reconnecting the communication between the mind and body.
Yes.
How do you do that as a therapist with your clients?
Yeah, a lot of people today are stuck from here to here.
Yes.
And that's their existence. And if it's not from here to here, it's out towards a phone, towards a TV.
Yes. Okay.
So we really are disconnected from our body. And I always said the mind can lie.
But the body can?
The body doesn't. Yeah, the body is very truthful. It tells you when something is good for you and when something is not, who is good for you and who is not, and even which direction to go in life.
Okay.
And what's the right direction.
Right.
So it gives us constant feedback.
Right.
We just don't listen. We repress, we contain, we manage.
Right.
And we don't give ourselves that time to really listen. And meditation is a great tool that I discovered in my journey that really enabled me to start to connect my mind to my body. And Shiatsu does that too, because oftentimes patients come to me and I start to work with them and they really feel their body. And even patients that are quite aware and maybe work with their body, they don't really feel it fully until somebody else comes and touches them in a way that exposes more than just the pain, exposes what's underneath the pain.
Right. What's your interpretation of disease?
Disease is where we are in misalignment of what our soul and our heart wants and what the pressures of society.
In all cases, do you think?
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah. Could you say that for children, though?
Yes,
Really?
because children are like sponges. They absorb everything in the house. And a lot of the time we don't understand how much they really understand and how much they really feel what's going on. So when a mother is stressed, when she's in pain, when she's going through any kind of pain, financial, spiritual, emotional, physical, the child feels it.
Would you say that was your experience?
That's the experience of every child. Yeah. And actually, I would dare to say that pain is what makes us.
Yes.
Pain is what shapes our behaviors, our choices, creates our path in a way, and creates who we are. So we either run away from pain or we want to take it on. That's my understanding.
That's your understanding.
Yeah, and how we get educated about it is at home.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to sort of, I don't know if I phrased that question appropriately, because you were talking about your lower back pain.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that you have a complete wealth of understanding about the first 7 years of life and how that shapes us as well.
Yep.
And how perhaps that was part of your lower back.
Definitely.
Yeah, the family systems and things like that.
The family system and what happens to us at school, what happens to us with trauma. And when I talk about trauma, it could be an accident, it could be physical trauma, emotional trauma,
Right.
psychological trauma, sexual abuse, violence,
Right.
or even moving to a new country, moving to a new school. So those events really shape us, and they are embedded in the body. The body is actually the place that we absorb those events. The mind processes the event, but the body absorbs it and manages it like a loyal army,
Right.
and then protects you from pain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Most often, I think, in our culture, we don't really recognize. I mean, we certainly have the understanding of let's go out and exercise,
Yeah.
but we don't have that sort of emotional intelligence
No,
to,
because it's uneasy.
because it's uneasy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's uneasy. We are not so well versed with our emotions. We are taught to hide them. We are taught to disregard them. And again, it happens in the house. And I hope with time, and part of my mission is to change our concept of understanding pain and how to educate even children about pain.
Right.
And the best educators are the parents. So when a parent goes through a painful event, either a physical injury, a sickness, a financial crisis, what do we do when we go through that? That's that opportunity to educate. What do we do when we get a cold? What do we do when we have a back pain? What do we do when we have financial pain?
What do you recommend?
I would recommend for parents to be a little more vulnerable with their kids and to be honest.
Take the mask off, yes?
Yep. And be honest and say, this is what mommy or daddy is going through, but at the same time being accountable. This is what I'm going to do. This is what we do.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how the education happens. Yeah. So the children also don't feel the guilt of the pain, because pain creates guilt.
Okay. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, if you just think for a second, if you take away pain, there's no guilt.
Okay.
So pain creates guilt. And where there's guilt, there's some shame. And where there's some shame, there's regret. So I call them, they can be healthy emotions, but they can also be toxic. And they can be quite poisonous, and they bind pain. They bind pain inside of us, and we tend to, again, either carry it and take other people's pain also, your
Right.
mother's pain initially, and then as you get
Yes.
older, your friends. Anytime that child feels the pain, they feel now and they believe that they can make that pain go away. They can take that pain on.
Right.
So they become the best child, the good girl, the good boy, the best friend, the best student,
The labels.
the best worker. You're such a good girl.
Right.
You're such a good woman.
Right.
You're such a good friend. So they believe that they can take that pain on. Another person can do the opposite. Every time they feel pain, they would want to run away from pain.
Right.
It's too much.
Okay.
So they run either to a bottle, to a book, to a library, to the gym. They become workaholics, addicts.
And so on and so forth.
And society can even say, oh, you're doing such a great job.
Right.
But inside, they're in pain.
Right. We need to take a bit of a break. We'll be
Okay.
back in a few moments with Mihael. Thank you. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Lauren Spaniolo, and my guest today is a registered Shiatsu therapist. You can reach Mihael at angelhands.ca, and he is here in Vancouver. I've had a treatment with Mihael, and I can honestly tell you that find out for yourself. He's actually quite incredible. Thank
you very much.
Yeah, you're
Very
welcome.
kind. Very kind.
Gosh, I just want to ask you so many things because, so you, just to touch on what you said earlier about psychotherapy,
Yep.
and it seems like what you're offering is really, like we said earlier, mind-body connection,
Yep.
but you're also adding, I know that you have experience in psychotherapy, so you're doing both psychotherapy and body work on the person.
I'm not doing psychotherapy. I'm working with the body.
You're working with the
And
body.
what the body tells us.
Uh-huh.
We do have a team at angelhand.ca because what I understood after years of being a practitioner that I'm not the solution to everyone, and actually I don't want to take that on.
Sure.
And what I understood about working with complex pain and trauma, that it is complex and we live in complex times. So the manifestation of disease, the manifestation of pain requires different eyes, different specialties looking at it. And actually SFU has confirmed that because pain hasn't been really researched until recently, believe it or not. SFU has a research department, and they concluded what I've seen in my practice, that it's complex, it's an epidemic. There's more people that are experiencing complex chronic pain than cancer patients, heart patients, and AIDS patients. You put all those patients together, they don't equal the amount of people that are experiencing pain today.
Why is that today? Why do you what's going on? Or what's not going on, maybe?
We, in our country, in Canada, we ranked in the world #1 when it comes to PTSD.
Post-traumatic.
Post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma.
Because?
Because we are not equipped initially, and people don't expect to experience trauma in Vancouver, Canada. They expect it in Afghanistan, they expect it in Iraq, they expect it in
Syria,
yeah,
etc.
And sometimes it's second, third generation.
Right.
So they know trauma really well. And North America is more of an isolated type of society also.
Right.
So when somebody experiences a traumatic event, there's isolation around that. There's shame around it.
Right.
And there's fear around it.
Right.
And there's not enough knowledge around it also. So yeah, we are not doing so well when it comes to that.
How are we doing by comparison, say, to the UK or you know, Europe or Australia, for that matter?
A lot of the developing countries, Holland is #2
of chronic conditions.
Of PTSD and trauma. Yeah. Britain is also in the top 10. Again, in the countries that you don't expect to experience trauma.
Well, when you say that, then what does it speak to the culture?
The culture, again, there's shame around pain. There's shame around, you should be a superwoman today, you should be a superman today.
Yes.
A woman needs to do everything from having a family to having a career to being the perfect wife to having a house. There's so much pressure to be perfect. And we like to present, especially with our social media platform today, we like to present a perfect image. But in reality, in life, there's good, there's bad, and there's ugly. And it's the ugly that creates a lot of shame. It's the ugly that creates a lot of fear and guilt. And trauma is not pretty. It's ugly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what does that then say about us cultivating emotional maturity as a culture and for ourselves? Because we're not really encouraged to do that.
Yeah. And you know, to get out, you need vulnerability. You need to say, something has happened to me.
Yes.
It hurts me every day, and I need help.
Okay.
And when you do that, I find when patients do that, that's the beginning of the process. And if they vocalize that, other people they give other people also permission to say, you know what, the same thing has happened to me. So there's a bond, and you see that a lot when we have at our center group experiences or group sessions or workshops, when people just share and are vulnerable. There's a lot of healing that happens. Yeah, that's the vulnerability is the key. Yeah.
It's the key.
Yeah.
To freedom.
Yeah, because trauma can be, and pain can be like a prison.
Yes.
It actually shrinks the person's world, their perception, their psychology, their emotions, their reality, their speech, their choices. Yeah.
Right.
So it can feel like a prison.
The director, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, she was the director of the films Misrepresentation and The Mask You Live In.
Yeah, I love that film.
Yes, I know, and I know that you recently showed it.
Yes.
I did as well, I think, as I mentioned to you.
Yes.
And I was curious to know why you, why did you show the film? And I think you have group chats about that as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I reached out before the New Year's to, we work with some organizations, and I like to help the helpers, the people in the front lines. So one of the organizations that we reached out is WAVA, which is Women Against Violence.
Oh, yes.
And the executive director and myself had a little talk, and I said, is there a way that I can support the women that experience those traumatic events?
Right.
And she gave me a look and she says, what makes you think that something is wrong with the women? I said, thank you very much for that lesson. So I returned and I right away created a group for men. And over the years, also being a male therapist working with men, I find with men, even more so than women, when it comes to trauma, there's so much shame around it. And men today, I feel, are lost because of it. Are lost because of lack of vulnerability. Lack of camaraderie and mentorship and that kind of level of accountability also. They lack tools. So that's why I created The Alchemy of Men, and why I showed that movie, to show men that we are really in an epidemic mode when it comes to men experiencing pain, suicide, self-medication, self-abuse. So men, I find, really need that group. That's the way it used to be in the old days. I remember, growing up in other countries, the neighborhood was watching over you. The men will be watching over you also. And of course, there's harm in other countries too. But I find that in North American society, again, men don't sit together, they don't make each other feel accountable, they don't teach each other about life, about relationships, about pain. Yeah.
But wasn't that also getting to the fact that about the emotional intelligence, that they're not actually encouraged? And like you talked about vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think that's part of being emotionally aware.
Yes.
Is being vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable and accountable.
And accountable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you want to have accountability.
When you say accountability, what does that mean?
That's empowering. That's more, and say, I'm in pain, I need help, and this is what I'm going to do about it. So there's some accountability, because I find a lot of people say that they need help, they are in pain, but they're not accountable for their own pain. They want somebody else to fix it. And I find, I always say to my patients, I might be the therapist, but pretty quickly I'm going to make you into a co-therapist. Because to me, it's a 50-50 relationship. Your pain will go away if you are accountable to it.
Right. And how does one go about really being accountable?
Sometimes I find people need the pain. They need
to wake them up.
It's not only to wake them up, but it's like a friend.
Right.
It can be seductive.
Right, but you can get attached to that pain.
That's right.
Not?
Yeah, and there's a story that usually builds around it.
And so then we create this victim mentality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unconsciously.
Right.
Yeah, unconsciously, and that's part of the trap that complex pain can bring. So, taking ownership for that pain, taking accountability for that pain is important.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you find it also fascinating, language and how we communicate with one another? That's an expression of our victim or expression of our pain, and staying in those places?
Yes. Oh yeah, we build stories, they're beautiful. They're beautiful and they serve a purpose.
Right, but what about when we're watching a film or we're watching the news, for that matter, in its delivery? I mean, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
It's worse in the States. I was just at the States. It's every second commercial is about pain and what medication you're going to take.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but it's becoming like that here too. Yeah,
Oh, you think so?
yeah, yeah.
You-
Self-medication.
Right, right, self-medication,
Yeah.
but you think it's getting a little bit worse because of those?
Well,
Commercials.
people want a quick fix.
Yes,
They want that pain to go away now. It's hard to go through a process
yeah,
of change.
well, we're
Yeah.
afraid
Yep.
to suffer
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're
Yeah.
afraid to suffer. We think it'll be too much.
Yeah,
But what people don't understand, what's on the other side is really bliss and joy and life changes and transformation and even finding your purpose.
right,
So pain is an opportunity.
right.
Yeah.
You're a plethora of information.
Thank
You
you.
really are.
Thank you.
In parting words, what could you say to our audience who's listening?
Don't be afraid of your pain. Use it as an opportunity, as a vehicle. Try to really listen to your body and what it says. Why is this pain not going away? What's really causing this pain? What's going on in my life? What has happened to me? Is the past involved with this pain? So be interested in your pain. Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, I noticed that you work with various Western medicine organizations.
Yeah, we have a relationship with the cardiology department at VGH.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
We get invited there to talk in front of heart patients. We do a lot in the community. We want to help a lot of first responders and police officers. We're going to do something on July 1st with first responders, with the crew at Women's Against Violence. Yeah, we try to really not only help people in pain, but help the helpers.
Help the helpers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the way that you've created that window into the Western medicine model so that it's integrated.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe that's the future.
Is it? Yeah, to
Yeah.
integrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to truly use that word.
To truly use it and not
Yeah.
just say it.
Yeah.
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 Are we
Yeah.
just saying it right now? Do you
Right
think?
now, I feel mostly we're just saying it. Yeah.
Where do you think the gap needs to be closed? How can that happen?
More education, more experience, and more building bridges between complementary medicine and,
Yeah.
Western medicine, the medical community, and that was my vision, and that's why we have this relation with the cardiology department. And I want to build more of those bridges because I believe that doctors are overwhelmed, nurses are overwhelmed, and they're starting to realize that we can help each other. And I believe that that'll be the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the most important thing you've learned about yourself?
That's a good question. I feel really fortunate
Yeah.
because I find that on a daily basis I deal with the truth.
You deal with the truth?
Yeah. And when people come to me, the masks come off. And I feel that it's an honor and a gift. And so I feel very fortunate, very blessed.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And I wish you well with your practice.
Thank you.
Yes, angelhands.ca, that's where you can find Mihael. And I'd like to honor and thank the staff and the volunteers at Shaw for your support through my time here at Shaw. And I wish you well on the journey of happiness, contentment, and peace. All the very best. Thank you.